Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. Well, about a month ago from the time you're seeing this video, I had published a video about differences between long-term food storage and bug-out food storage. But it made me think of doing a separate video of another type of food storage, and that is on-the-go food storage. So not bug-out necessarily, but something that you're going to keep in your rig. And this can be for any scenario. I'm looking mostly at situations where you're on the road and you want to keep something in your rig all the time so that maybe you don't have time to stop and eat. Maybe you can't afford to go to a restaurant, or you're stuck in some kind of storm of some sort, in gridlock, there's been an accident, anything that may cause you to be delayed from reaching your destination. And having some food in your rig is going to be really important. Now, of course, water is going to be a very important part of that too, but let's talk just about some ideas for foods that you can keep in your rig. Now, I'm also looking more at foods that you don't have to cook. Now, it is still a good idea, and I highly recommend, and we have one of these we keep in at least one of our rigs, is a small gas stove, just one of them little ones that you can keep. But then you're also going to want to have something that you can cook in. And that's if you really need to heat something up, heat up water, or if you are going to put in things like oatmeal and soups that you want to cook, that is still a good option, and I do recommend it. For us, we do have a set of stainless steel pots that we keep in our go bags, and we have go bags in each of the rigs. And if you want more information on that, I have a whole series where I break down the different parts of my purse. Like I have a small purse, a bigger purse, a bag, and a backpack, and I break those down into a bunch of different videos. I'll put the full playlist down below. I recommend you check it out. And I do show the stainless steel pots and more. But again, I'm trying to focus more on things that you don't have to cook, especially if you're not wanting to have to worry about ventilation and running one of those little stoves inside your rig. If that's what you're having to be stuck in, isn't always going to be the best option. I'm going to cover a few things that we do, or that we either keep in the rigs or that we add to the rigs when we're going somewhere, and things that we keep in our bags at all times. I just grabbed a few random things, but a couple of the items would be the food ration bars that I'll make on occasion. And I have two separate videos, and both of them are older, but the first one I did, that's actually my favorite one, is the gingerbread ones. And so I have a video recipe I did on that. I'll link to that down below. And then I also, a couple years later, did one on the chocolate food ration bars, which I'll also link to down below. And then I also have several videos on making your own homemade granola. Granola is also a great option. You can add to it whatever you want. One of our favorites is the peanut butter granola, which is the easiest one to make because you only need three things: oats, honey, and peanut butter. That's all you need. It's super simple. Plus, I have a couple other granola options. I'll link to all three of those, but you can take any of those and then just tailor them. And another great idea is taking any of your homemade jams, apple butters, whatever that you have, and use that in place of honey, and then add whatever you want to your oats, nuts, seeds, and so on. So make sure you check those videos out. And by the way, all those links will be going in the description box. If you don't know how to open it, just look somewhere below the screen down here. You'll see a long horizontal box, and somewhere in there you'll see either the word more or show more, and you just click on that, and that should open it up to find all of the links I'll be putting in there. And then another thing I always keep in our different bags are canned sardines. So I get these ones from Costco. I highly recommend these. They're wild caught, they're non-GMO, and they're in olive oil. So you're getting a lot of great fat and protein in there. And so I definitely recommend sardines. Even though Patrick doesn't eat them, he knows he would if he had to. He likes fish. He doesn't like sardines. These are nice because the way they're packed, they'll last forever in these cans, and they're easy to open because you just peel it. Not like the old days where you had to have a little key that you had to unroll it with. And so that's something that also is always in our bags. But then some things that I'm more likely to send with him would be things like the dehydrated sausage slices. And so in that case, I'll just send him the jar. Same thing with the homemade jerky. This particular one is elk jerky, but you know, I do beef jerky too. I have videos on these as well, including the chicken sausage. That's what this is. It's a chicken sausage I get from Butcher Box. So you can always find the Butcher Box link in the description box down below, which is one of the ways we stock up on meats is through them, and also through wild caught meats or grass-fed meats that we can get locally. Some other things that he gets sent with are sunflower seeds and peanuts. Now you can see there's some out of these. That's because these are the jars we're working through, and he's the one that's more likely to go on long trips. He goes down to help his dad down in California, and it's a long drive. So I always make sure he has plenty of things to snack on the way, so he doesn't have to stop and eat that often. So he's got meat, he's got plenty of proteins and more. But anyway, what he does with these is he actually puts them in smaller jars, and the kind with the lug lid rather than a lid like this, so it's a lot easier when he's on the road to open and eat them. Now, if you're looking at something you want to keep in your rig and you're not wanting to put vacuum sealed jars and so on, and then you can always get Mylar bags. This is actually a Mother Earth product bag, but you can actually buy Mylar bags this size that are Ziploc. And that would be something you'd want to put your homemade granola, food ration bars in, and so on. And you can pretty much, without having to use oxygen absorbers if you don't want, because I hate those things myself, there's ways that you can remove the excess air out of your bags when you seal them up. And one of my favorite ways is just to get a big bowl or pan of water, which I do believe I show in that first, the gingerbread food ration bar, and just immerse that all the way into the bowl until the water comes up to here. In fact, I might have a clip I can put in here too. And then while it's still in there, obviously you want to make sure your water doesn't go over the top of the bag, then just zip it up. That should get most of the air out of there, and then preserve them for a longer period of time. And then if you like freeze-dried foods, there are certain ones that are really tasty to snack on. And actually, I just grabbed this one because it was a smaller bag, but the organic sweet corn I get from Mother Earth Products is already packed in its own Mylar bag, and this stuff is really yummy to snack on, as are any of the freeze-dried fruits, if you like that kind of thing. And if you're freeze drying your own goods, then the same thing would apply. Consider getting little bags like this because they're lightweight. They're going to take up less space than a jar. You don't have to worry about the jars clashing against each other and cracking or breaking. Then, you know, you can use bags like these. These are also great for putting into, if you do have go bags and you do actually have to leave the rig, then those are something that take up a lot less space and don't add much weight to your bag. We don't have freeze dryer, totally not interested in one. So the few freeze dried foods that I like, I do get from Mother Earth Products, which I always link to down below. And to me, that's actually money well spent. Everything else I prefer to dehydrate and do it myself, such as pineapple. I do have freeze-dried pineapple on hand that I use for some things, but dehydrated pineapple is also a very great snack. I love dehydrated pineapple, so I do my own. And well, I don't grow the pineapple, but I'll buy pineapple from Misfits Market. It's organic, and then I'll dehydrate it. So I have several jars of this. This is a very tasty snack, and any other kind of dehydrated fruits that you like. Vegetables, some of them are good, like dehydrated snow peas are actually pretty crisp. Those are actually pretty good to snack on, so that would be another option. I didn't think to bring one of those jars in, but one thing about some of your dehydrated foods is that when you put them in bags like this, some of them, like the peas in particular, have very sharp corners, which can puncture holes in your bag. So you got to consider the kind of things that if you're using Mylar bags, what you're putting in there, because they can, especially if they're in a bag or some kind of container where they're rubbing against other things, eventually those things can poke through. This is why I prefer jars for the most part. Whenever I'm vacuum sealing, always jars, because I don't have to worry about sharp things poking holes. And the same would apply to your jerky. You know, if you're trying to seal it up nice and tight, a lot of your jerky can have sharp corners on it that will poke holes. Then another thing would be, like, I just grabbed this because it was what I had, but you know, sealing up crackers, cookies, and things like that. These are the organic animal crackers you can get from Costco. And it's such a huge container, and it takes forever. I keep them on hand for Jackson, for the grandbabies. And it just takes so long to work through that big, huge container. So I vacuum seal them into jars, so we only have to work through a smaller amount, not worry about them going stale. But this could also be a great thing, especially if you have kids, to keep in your rigs. Now, this can be cookies and crackers you make yourself, or something you purchase like I did with these here. And then some other things would be, like, I know in one of my bags I have a little Mylar bag of my own blend of mixed greens, because that would be something you could just add to water. If you powder it up, especially, you can powder it up and add it to water and drink it down, and then you're getting some nutrients that way. It's not really going to fill you up, but at least you're getting some nutrients. But it made me think a really good option would be too, if you have water on hand, and this wouldn't have to be something you had to heat up or cook, but you had your dehydrated bone broth, be it beef, chicken, turkey. As long as you powder up your bone broth and your greens and some of your other stuff, you can, or you wouldn't have to powder up your freeze-dried goods, but powdered up, they would take up a lot less room. And then make your own little baggies of that. And then all you'd have to do is just add it directly into water and shake it really well. Let's say you have a water bottle, like a stainless steel water bottle, and you have a few of those in there, then you could have one that you're using just for making a quick soup out of, where you're getting lots of protein, calories, and, nutrients out of that. So your dried meats, I didn't bring, I thought I was going to grab a jar of, like, the chicken that I dehydrated. That would be a good one to powder up and add in there too. So you can get that, lots of protein. Just make your own soup blend out of that. But you could also buy prepackaged soup blends, anything you could just simply add water to. And obviously heating it would be nice, but if it's powdered, you wouldn't really have to cook it. You could just blend it really well and then drink that down. Some other options that other people will do is they'll keep some oats, whether that be like instant, prepackaged oats. If you're getting them in the paper, though, that would be something I would say repackage into Mylar, or so it will last longer in your rig. If they're in little paper packages, just leave it in those and then put that inside a Mylar bag and seal it up. You could also stick them in jars and vacuum seal them if you're going to keep the jars in the rigs at all time. I do recommend, though, with the jars, if I'd say have some kind of tote where you have the jars in there and you have them packed in such a way that there's padding all the way around them, so they're not constantly hitting against each other. Someone that says they keep, like, the instant mashed potatoes, and then they can just add water to that, and it can be cold. It doesn't take long. You can just let it sit for a couple minutes and then you have mashed potatoes. And then some people keep instant coffee in their rigs as well. That's a really great option. And then somebody else, because I was asking on freesteading for a few ideas that I could add to this list, was those little squeeze pouches you can get. Usually for babies, toddlers, they'll have the little squeeze pouches you can get that have applesauce or a mix of fruits and vegetables, and it's pureed up. And those things can last for quite a long time. So those would be some good options too. And I didn't even think about that, even though my grandbabies, their parents, they keep those things on hand. And I know Costco, you can get like a case of the organic ones, and that would be something you could buy and keep in there, because anyone can eat that stuff. It doesn't just have to be for babies and toddlers. I just wouldn't have thought of that because I'm thinking of adult food. But if you have children, babies and toddlers, then obviously that would be good for them too. If you have pets that are with you all the time or going on these long trips with you, then make sure you're keeping some foods and snacks for them as well, and some kind of dish that they can drink water out of. Always think about whoever else is traveling with you, be it children or pets. So that's it for my list on those items. And now what I would really like is for anyone watching this video that has some really great ideas or already practicing these measures, what are the kind of things that you keep in your rig? Again, this is more focused on if you're staying with your rig, not so much bugging out and not so much things that you have to cook, just things that you like to keep in your rig at all times, or that you pack whenever you're going on a long trip. Because, these are all the things you have to think of. I mean, a lot of times people think preparedness is all about preparing for some massive disaster, and then you're called a conspiracy theorist, when really all it is just about insurance, because there are daily things that happen to anyone. People get stuck in traffic, be it because of just regular gridlock or because some major accident. Happens all the time. There's snowstorms, there's all kinds of other storms that happen all the time where you can be stuck in your rig for a long period of time. You could break down in the middle of nowhere and it might be a while before anyone comes by. So just remember, if you're one of those that likes to say, oh, I'm not going to live in fear, this isn't about living in fear. It's about not living in fear because you're ready for these situations when they happen. They're situations that can happen to anyone. And then, like I said, even if you're just on the road and it's like, man, I can't afford to stop and eat, or I'm in a hurry, I don't have time to stop and eat at a restaurant, I'm just going to snack on the foods that I have on hand. And so that just makes it easy and inexpensive because you've already either made it yourself or you just prepared ahead of time. So anyway, share with us in the comments down below so everyone can learn from you as well. And don't forget to check out the links I'll be putting in the description box. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.